And this session is going to be about ISO 50001. It's a fairly new standard, and I couldn't really find anybody in the state to talk about it. So I'm going to give you a brief overview and give a little bit of feedback from people on how interested they are in ISO 50001, and maybe we can plan a future session around that. So ISO 50001 is a standard from the International Organization of Standardization. It is supposedly fairly compatible with the 9001 quality management system, as well as the 14001 environmental management system. And all the information I'm going to give you today I've pulled from a DOE website. You've got the handout for that in your folder. So I'm basically just giving you information that's pulled from that website. I just kind of wanted to get a feel for where people were on their background information on ISO 50001. How many have what they would say would be very limited knowledge about the standard? Anybody have considerable background information about it? And do we have any companies that are actually in the process or considering moving forward with that standard? Well, good. Then the fact that this is a very basic presentation kind of should fit everybody's needs. The graphic we have up here is pretty similar to some of the graphics that Bruce was showing earlier about the EPA's environmental or energy management system standard, based on a series of interacting processes, and also follows the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. I was at a conference last fall where there was a sustainability panel, and I asked a question. I said, how many of your companies have an energy management system such as ISO 50001 or some other system? And the response I got back was, well, we collect all of our utility bills and we track those. And I kind of rephrased my question, and everybody on the panel said, yeah, we do that. We track our utility bills. And I said, okay, we don't know what an energy management system really looks like. And so that's kind of part of the reason why we're having this session today. A true energy management system goes way past just knowing what your utility bills are, includes defining a policy statement, having corrective and preventive actions in place. It's got a communication and outreach element, and then has some key steps to involve your management throughout the process. So as mentioned, it's based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. And the intent is to incorporate energy considerations and energy management into daily operations as part of the organizational strategy. And there are both technical and management components to an energy management system. We'll talk a little bit about the planning aspects of it. It does include knowing your utility use, what is your current and your historic utility use, but it also includes projecting what your future energy use is. Identifying your big energy using sources now and predicting what those will be in the future. It involves identifying what variables affect your energy use, knowing what your legal requirements are as far as energy use, establishing a baseline, and then setting energy performance indicators, which are many of the steps that Bruce talked through as well. And of course, the do part involves implementing energy efficiency projects but it's more than that as well. There's elements of training and awareness in the ISO 50001 standard. There's documentation and operational control steps that need to be walked through, as well as design and procurement considerations. The Check Act is where you verify your energy performance, includes monitoring and measuring, but as well you need to have a plan in place for calibrating your monitoring and measuring equipment, for conducting internal audits, and then taking actions to correct nonconformities. And then the act part is where management really gets involved, reviewing and evaluating your successes, and then making sure you take the appropriate actions as you move back into the plan part of the cycle. And so this is how the management stays committed and informed on the energy management system. As I mentioned, this information was pulled from this website, which is a real good source of information. We do have one person in Iowa, and he's here today, that's gone through ISO 50001 lead auditor training, and that's Matt Millage with Wolin Mechanical. And also, Alliant Energy is having a workshop at the end of this month for their customers that I think is the keynote lunch speaker is from Georgia Tech University, and they've done a lot of work on rolling out this ISO 50001 standard across the country. So for any of you that are Alliant customers, that is an opportunity to get more information as well. Throughout lunch or the breaks today, if people just want to touch base with me or anybody on our team, let me know how interested you are in the standard. I can tell you that it's cheaper to bring an instructor to Iowa if there's a group of 15 people that want a higher level of training than it is to send 15 Iowans to Georgia to get that training. So if there is that level of interest, perhaps the state can help companies keep their costs for that training down if we can come up with some type of a joint training in the future. That's, and also I found out that Allsteel in Muscatine has worked with the Department of Energy's pilot program and are at the point now where they can get 50001 certification. So that's good that at least somebody in Iowa's got their foot in the door and is going to have some lessons learned that they can hopefully share back with the rest of the state. I did want to touch base with Matt and just, get his opinion on what he thinks the value of 50001 might be for Iowa companies, since he's been through a week training and he understands the standard very, very well. Matt, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with me.
Do you actually want to go through that e-guide? Because I think that would...
I don't have it ready to go right now, so perhaps if you just want to kind of talk through what you think the pluses and minuses of the standard are.
Well, it's not so much the standard, but it's more so that e-guide is essentially everything that everyone is looking for. If you're looking at energy management, everybody's probably done the internet searches and Google inquiries as to, how do I do an assessment? What's involved? What do I do when I look at a compressed air system? That e-guide is actually going to walk you through that entire process, the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. And so if you actually go on that e-guide, there's, I believe, roughly 5 or 6 chapters, and each chapter is associated with each step of the process. And so you can go through that process and you can set up a management system for your facility or for your corporation without actually going full implementation to 50001. And that's where I see that guide being extremely beneficial. All the information, all the knowledge is there. All you have to do is systematically follow it. And it's amazing how much information is on there. I understand why they actually make it an e-guide, because if you were actually print out everything that's on there, you'd have probably, an encyclopedia. So.
I was at a program recently, and we were discussing with some people, well, what is the advantage of getting the ISO 50001 certification versus just like fully implementing the 6 guidelines of Energy Star or whatever, just having a really good program. And one of the guys came up with a really good analogy, which I thought you might enjoy. He says, like if you're training for a race, let's say you're training for a marathon, and let's say first you just say, well, I'm going to do it myself. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to run every day, and I'm going to do this much, and just sort of follow my own guidelines and follow good principles or something. So that's the first approach. And then the second one, it would be like more of the analogy of ISO 50001. It's like, okay, I'm going to hire a coach. He's going to give me a written plan that I'm going to implement, and I'm going to take measurements every day of what I'm doing and record my progress. And so it's like that. It's like, it's documenting everything and having a very specific plan and a coach. So I thought that was a nice analogy.
Yeah. I think kind of one of the problems with where we're at in Iowa right now is there's a lack of people that you could contract to, to enhance whatever your workforce is, to get this done. There's a lack of third-party auditors, which you need to hire and have the audit process done. There's just so few of them right now that the cost for actually getting that certification is probably going to come down over the years as more service providers are out there offering these services. But the one comment I've had is that the actual cost to get that certification is considerable. And, definitely management's going to think twice about the value of that. So.
And just to add on to that, to get one of those entities out there to assist you, well, not necessarily assist you with 50001, because DECRA is one company, and there's a plethora of companies that are geared up to come out and audit your facility and make sure that you are complying with the standard. That's all they're looking at is the standard, and to see if you meet the standard. They're not actually per se a coach that's going to show you how to do that standard or how to get to that point. They're simply coming in, seeing if you meet the written intent of the standard. They're not there to show you how to perform an assessment or how to optimize your culture or how to optimize your process. But they are there simply just to see if you meet the intent of the code. But the e-guide itself, if you follow that, that's all you need essentially to meet that 50001 standard.
Any other?
Yeah, are there any? Are you aware of any companies or groups that are saying you must be certified in order to do business with us, or is the government saying that you got to be certified? Is this a totally voluntary program at this point?
I haven't heard. I know the automotive industry really drove the environmental management standard through that. Are they picking up the energy management?
Currently, no, not 50,001.
Okay.
There's some that are looking at doing some basics of it, but not as a certification.
I think it's still just kind of that new.
It is new. I think one of the other key pieces is how many companies in here are ISO 14001 certified? Because 50,001 really builds on 14,001, which is environmental. And if you're looking at going 50,001, if you're not 14,001, it's going to be a big jump. So if you are 14,001, many of the concepts and philosophies from the environmental take right up to the 50,001, so it's very beneficial to have that basis.
I So, Joanne Howard with John Deere, so we have 5 manufacturing facilities in Germany as well. And Germany had legislation last year that tied some of their industrial energy tax rebates to, if you were an industrial facility of a certain size, that you would have to have ISO 50001 certification to qualify for the tax rebate on what you pay in energy taxes. And so this is, it's new, it's something that we've looked at, but, we have our own environmental management system, so we don't have the 14,001 unless it's a customer requirement. And we have our own quality production system. So we're looking at this more of, are there ways to integrate this, key points of this into our environmental management system more, but not specifically 50,001. But yeah, our European colleagues have a lot more knowledge on this.
And I think that goes really well with what Matt's
That's,
telling us is, this is good information, whether 50,001 certification, well, apparently it's not on anybody's radar right now, and that's kind of what we expected, but, there's resources out there that can help you strengthen whatever program you do now. And this is one of them. And again, if people want more details about this as ISO 50001 may or may not spread across the state, I think if you let your key account reps at your utilities know, as well as let us know, if a large enough pool of people want some higher level of information, I think we can combine resources and make getting that information a little, drive the cost of that down a little bit by pulling together people from different companies.